Why a clean cheat in WE charity scandal is good news for Justin Trudeau. The WE charity scandal, which broke in June when Canada was recovering from its first COVID-19 wave, led to the third ethics probe into Trudeau since his taking office in 2015, hurting his Liberal Party's image less than a year after it lost its parliamentary majority in general elections. Canada's Federal Ethics Commissioner Thursday said Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last year had not given preferential treatment while awarding a no-bid contract to a high-profile youth organization that had ties to his family. The WE charity scandal, which broke in June when Canada was recovering from its first COVID-19 wave, led to the third ethics probe into Trudeau since his taking office in 2015, hurting his Liberal Party's image less than a year after it lost its parliamentary majority in general elections. Later in August last year, the Finance Minister Bill Morneau, who also had family links with the charity, abruptly resigned amid the pandemic over reported strained ties with Trudeau, further escalating the national outrage and energizing political opponents. Thursday's clearance from the ethics watchdog is welcome news for Trudeau, who is said to be planned another election this year to regain his party's majority. Morneau, however, has been found to have broken conflict of interest laws by improperly furthering WE's private interest by failing to rescue himself from decisions relating to WE and by giving WE preferential treatment, a pronouncement that the opposition parties will most certainly use to attack the Liberals. So what is WE charity scandal? In June last year, the Canadian government awarded the popular youth organization WE Charity no-bid contract to run a $912 million emergency volunteer program for students impacted by the COVID-19 economic crisis. Under the agreement, WE would have received up to $43.5 million for managing the program. Trudeau and Morneau, however, soon got into trouble after it emerged that the charity had links to both their families, with critics asking why neither rescued themselves from the cabinet discussing concerning the contract. It was reported that Trudeau's wife, mother and brother had received large sums of money in the past to appear at WE charity events, and Morneau had failed to reimburse trips to Kenya and Ecuador that had been paid by WE. Morneau and his wife had also made large donations to WE, and his daughter had worked in administrative position there. In July last year, Canada's Ethics Commissioner announced an investigation into the decision, the Prime Minister's third probe since taking office. Trudeau fended off criticism by saying the charity had been vetted and selected by Canada's bureaucracy, and his discretion in the matter only extended to approve or rejecting the entire proposal. Although both Morneau and Trudeau denied any wrongdoing, they apologized for not rescuing themselves, and the Canadian government cancelled the contract in the face of public anger. So what has the Ethics Commissioner said? About Trudeau, Ethics Commissioner Mario Dorion said, although there was an appearance of conflict of interest due to his family connections to the charity, the Prime Minister had not broken the law. The report found no personal friendship between Trudeau and the charity's founders, and said awarding the contract gave rise to strong appearance of conflict between the Trudeau family relationship with WE and Mr. Trudeau's duty to make decisions that best serve the public interest. The report also noted that government funding to WE went up to five-fold from Canadian $1.1 million to Canadian $5.5 million since Trudeau Liberal unseated the Conservative, now the main opposition party. Finally, though, Dion said, I determined that without an actual conflict of interest or clear legislative prohibition against apparent conflicts of interest, I could not conclude that contravention occurred. In Morneau's case, the ethics watchdog had in October last year absolved him of wrongdoings as regard of his foreign trips, accepting that it appeared to be a genuine mistake. Yet in his report on Thursday, the Ethics Commissioner blamed Morneau of placing himself in conflict of interest on several occasions, and that his friendship with charity's founder afforded unfettered access to the office of the Minister of Finance. The report concluded that Morneau had breached 3 sections of Canada's Conflict of Interest Act. The findings, however, do not carry any financial or legal consequences of Morneau, since penalties under the Act do not apply the section former minister is found to have breached, the Globe and Mail reported. What have been the reactions to the findings? In a statement, Trudeau said the report confirms what I have been saying for the beginning. At the heart of the initiative was getting support for you during the pandemic as fast as possible. Thank you.